everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Short Term Rentals. And we have the amazing, incredible TJ Tijani in the house. Thank you so much for coming today.
No problem. No problem. No problem. Let's
And
get to it.
today we're actually going to talk about something super cool that it's one of your areas of expertise, which is doing short term rentals, but not owning the property itself. So first of all, is it like legal to like rent a property
Yeah.
and sublease it?
Yeah. So what we're talking about right now and what you're referring to is rental arbitrage. Arbitrage is essentially being the middleman. And if you know anything about business, you know that there's plenty of money to be made as a middleman. So this means that you don't own it. You're simply a cash flow. You just bring yourself in the middle and merge these two worlds together, and you create an opportunity for yourself for being in the middle. And now you're an arbitrage person, right? So rental arbitrage within the short-term rental space is a strategy that started kind of really, really growing as the short-term rental industry got popular. It wasn't, this is a strategy it was the most popular growing strategy that there is within short-term rentals because of how low the barrier to entry is. Now, just because the barrier to entry is low, in theory, like you rent the property out and then you rent it out on Airbnb. Now, although in theory it's simple, nowadays is a lot more that goes into it. Oh. The ability to have an apartment complex or a landlord intrigued enough to do business with you, to allow you to do rental arbitrage, that process has changed from what it used to be just a few years ago. You're going to have to get a lot more creative, a lot more savvy, because now it's more known. And so a lot of landlords are a lot more at arms and up at guards, and they have a bigger barrier up about short-term rentals and Airbnb in general. In this case, I'm gonna just say Airbnb because that's usually the issue that they have. So when landlords have issues like, oh, you're gonna list it on Airbnb? Airbnb, as amazing as it is, has such a negative tone to it because of all the stuff that they hear about it on the news and all the parties and stuff. So it has a negative connotation to it. So when landlords be like, "Oh, you're gonna be on Airbnb," understand what they're really asking. They're really asking like, "Well, it's gonna be parties. There's gonna be all this noise. And my neighbor's gonna be mad. Like, is it gonna be y'all gonna be throwing trash everywhere?" And so that's really their concern. So arbitrage, in a sense, the landscape of it has changed to what it used to be. But essentially, with arbitrage, you're not owning it, you're renting it. But the key is to rent it the right way. And that's the key. And that's where a lot of people mess us up. That's the beginning of where people get this wrong. Most people that arbitrage right now, they fly under the radar. Okay. They just rent out the property, pretend and act like they're going to live there. But in reality, they furnished it and put it on Airbnb. And honestly, I'm not necessarily, get it how you live. Get it how you live, but I can't in good conscience teach you that. I can't in good conscience recommend that. I can't in good conscience even direct you to do that. I don't recommend it at all. So what's important now for people to understand, if you want to do rental arbitrage, is first thing you got to do when people say, "Oh, TJ, I want to do rental arbitrage," first thing you got to do, first to understand is very legal. It's very legal, 100% legal. Matter of fact, arbitrage as a business model has been around for a very long time before the inception of Airbnb. Oh, wow. It was just more so, reserved for these huge corporate housing entities, right? These companies that will come rent out entire apartment complexes and have corporate housing, or rent out a few floors in an apartment and have corporate housing, what they'll furnish it and rent it out to a specific group of people, business travelers, and that was their focus. And so then Airbnb came into the mix and allowed everyday people to be able to earn money on a platform, like people who just lived in a neighborhood, who lived in a house or a condo. And so then this created the opportunity for somebody to say, okay, well, what if I just rent this property out? Then I don't have to own it. This is what arbitrage is about. And so at the end of the day, when it comes to arbitrage, you want to make sure that you do this the right way. For one, understand, again, like I mentioned, it's not new. It's been around for a long time. Now is just your chance to do it. But think about and position yourself the same way the companies have already been doing it successfully. Mm-hmm. You don't want to create the same kind of business model, but you want to pay attention to how they were able to secure these leases, because they don't own any of that property. But how are they able to secure them? Well, you got to understand they did it under a business, for one. So when people say, hey, TJ, I want to do arbitrage, do you have a business entity? Is my first question to you. Because at the end of the day, you want to rent these properties out under an entity, under a business entity, not under your personal name.
So would it be under like an LLC or something like that?
Absolutely under an LLC. It's perfectly fine under an LLC. And by the way, this LLC or this entity that you're using should not own anything else. This isn't an entity that you do it with, you know, hey, I'm going to do Airbnb with this entity, but it's also my wholesaler company. Or I also do hair with this business. Nah, it needs to be an entity that is solely for your short-term rental company. And when you do that, then you're doing it the right way. Because understand, subleasing, quote unquote, will get you in trouble. Not that it's illegal, like go to jail illegal, but it's illegal in the sense that it's against the lease agreement. So subleasing is 100% illegal in a sense, right? But if you rent it under a business, it's understood that that business can't stay there. Somebody's going to have to be staying on behalf of that company. So that's why it's totally different. Matter of fact, if done right, your lease agreement likely won't even look the same. It's a corporate lease agreement. And that's why we have our own lease agreements for our students. So when our students go in and they go to talk to landlords and want to rent these properties out, we give them a lease agreement that outlines exactly what you're doing. It heavily favors the landlord, actually, because understand, we're not just coming over here trying to just take over your property and just not gives you any rights or any perks. Like, no, it heavily favors the landlord 100%. Matter of fact, if the landlord ever wanted to know who's in their property, we will send them that information. Full name, email out, like we'll let you know who exactly is staying at your property 100%. So, you know, when it comes to that, when it comes to arbitrage, is it legal? Yes, if done right. Is it legal? 100%. If done properly under a business, because understand, by definition, subleasing is if I was renting a property out right now under my name and I decide, and you qualified me, and you ran my social, you ran my credit, you ran my background check, my criminal history, as if I was going to live there, and I qualify for it and I get the spot, then I start Airbnb out, or I rent it out to you, I sublease it to you on Airbnb. By definition, I'm subleasing, and that's illegal. Illegal, not like jail illegal, but yeah, that's illegal. But if I was to rent it under a business, you're staying on behalf of the business. You're staying on behalf of the company. Not only that, the landlord knows exactly what I'm doing. This is how to do it the right way. So when you arbitrage, you want to arbitrage to where you can sleep well at night, right?
That's right.
So
and I feel like it comes down to the relationship that you have with the landlord.
Yes.
Because if you're truly being honest with them and making sure that they know that it's actually a business that you're doing, they're going to have way more trust and confidence on what you're doing with the business and what you're doing with the property. And who knows, maybe they even know that one other landlord that could be your next place to start renting and then convert it into short-term rentals.
I'm glad you said that, because that's usually what happens. When you are the perfect tenant to landlords, because understand, if you're doing this business right, that's exactly what you are. You are the perfect tenant. Understand that. You're the perfect tenant if you execute the strategy the right way. Now, when you're the perfect tenant to a landlord, I'm telling you, coming from somebody who is a landlord, like was a landlord, had long-term tenants, we know a lot of other landlords. We know a lot of other landlords. So it's by nature, it's just a law of reciprocity. It's just whatever you want to call it, creating your own luck per se. If you do good business with one landlord, you take care of their property and you pay them their rent on time. It's almost a sure thing that you're going to get business just from that. It got to a point to where I didn't have to pitch myself to landlords ever anymore, because now the deals just come to me. Now I'm having to pick. Nah, not big enough for me. Nope, not a good area. Nope, not where I want to be.
Now they're fighting for your business.
Exactly. Now they're fighting for my business. TJ, you can rent mine out. You can take mine. Nah. So, and that's what's possible when done properly. Done properly, yeah.
When done properly and building those relationships that are gonna later on grow your
100%.
portfolio. Now, what are some of the advantages for, as an investor point of view, from renting a certain place instead of owning it and using it as a short-term rental?
You know, when I do a presentation, a lot of times when I talk and I teach this strategy, I do a breakdown of the benefits of arbitraging versus owning. I always say that at the end of the day, I don't care whether you arbitrage or not, the goal should be ownership. But from a, like, just right here, right now, if I want to get going, should I own or should I arbitrage? Like, that's a lot of, and the answer depends. There's no clear answer. It depends on your goals. Some people don't ever have a desire in arbitraging at all. They want to own all their short-term rental. Some people don't want to own it all. They just want to arbitrage their entire. So it depends on your goals. But I say that the goal should be ownership. And a lot of times when you look at the advantages and disadvantages, of course, when you own, you get the advantage of all the benefits of owning, the debt pay down, the appreciation capture, the depreciation, the cash flow, because they're higher yields, right? So you get all that benefit of owning. And then when you look at arbitrage, and you own it and you control it. When you look at arbitrage, you get none of those benefits because you don't own it, but you do control it. So you look at benefits like, is the barrier to entry is lower. You don't have to buy it first. So you can just literally just start furnishing it right away as soon as you secure the lease. You can get to the cash flow bag quicker when you arbitrage. You can get to, the barrier to entry is lower. It can be a mobile business. Some people don't really realize that even when you rent it, it can be mobile, because understand, when you actually master and you know how to secure these leases and you know how to have these conversations with landlords to secure them, it'll be easy. Even if you have to move out of one, it's going to be easy for you to secure another one and move into that other one. So it can be a mobile business. Some people don't really see it as a mobile business, but it can be 100%. And so the barrier to entry, the fact that it can be a mobile business, the fact that you do control that asset, you don't own it, but you do control it. And so those are the benefits. And then of course the downside is you don't get none of the benefits of owning. You get none of the benefits of owning. You're making money. Those expenses that you're paying is not going anywhere. That's just expenses that at least the expenses I pay when I pay the ones that I own, at least I'm paying down my mortgage. You know what I'm saying? On a property that I own. And I could pay down even faster if I wanted to.
That's right.
Really fast if I wanted to. So I would say, when you look at both, should you arbitrage or should you own? The answer is yes.
And I feel like it depends.
The answer is both.
And I feel like it depends on the actual situation of the person,
100%.
Sometimes you don't just have the economical resources as to actually go into buying, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop.
That don't mean you have to, exactly. I know people that have very limited capital going into this business, and now they're 7-figure earners.
Oof,
and they didn't own that one property. And they didn't own that one, and then they started owning. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a year and a half, 2 years into the business, they're now generating this. They have 20-some plus units, 30-some plus units, 15 units. Now, all right, we're getting ready to start buying now. So, and that's always a great plan. That's going from phase 1 to phase 2, which is always a good plan. So, when it comes to the arbitrage game, it's one of the best ways to get into this business, honestly. It's one of the best ways to really get to the cash flow, and then you can get creative with it. We have students now that we're structuring lease purchases into short-term rental ownership, right? So again, the goal should be ownership. So imagine you do a lease purchase where you identify a dope property, you rent it out, but you also, on top of the lease agreement that you sign, you also sign a purchase agreement as well, to where you can execute the right to purchase it by the end of your lease term. That's a lease purchase. And so we have students now running the play on a lease purchase to where they're leasing it with an option to purchase it. So now you get to make money from it as a short-term rental for a year and a half, 2 years, and then transition into owning it. Now, of course, when you lease it, there is a down payment that usually is involved. Understand that in most cases it's around 5% down. You put 5% down, you can execute that lease purchase, and that 5% goes hard. And when I say goes hard, there's non-refundable. If you decide not to buy it, you're not getting that 5% back. So when you do a lease purchase, just make sure that you do that research. Make sure that that's a property that you actually will be interested in securing. And again, that's also in a case by case. Sometimes you can work out a lease purchase deal to where it's no money out of pocket. You can still execute a lease purchase. It depends on the deal. And so once you do that, then you start making money on it. and then you execute your purchase, the option to buy on the back end. This is what is possible 100%. And now you can get creative, do subject to into short-term rentals. You can owner finance into short-term rentals. You can get into the ownership multiple ways into short-term rentals. But arbitrage is one of the best ways to get started in the game, build that nest egg, and then run the play on ownership. 100%.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about short-term rentals, that they truly open, like this type of investment truly opens their doors to anyone, no matter what your condition is at the moment, no matter what your economical status is at the moment, no matter if you don't know anything about investments, you can still get in. Because I feel like everyone knows about renting an apartment. Like we all have rented an apartment at least once in our life.
Yeah.
So if you know exactly how you did it for figuring out if that apartment was good or not, you can easily transfer some of that knowledge into arbitrage.
100%.
And now, when it comes to arbitrage, how much can you expect to earn by doing that?
Yeah, when it comes to arbitrage, this is definitely market dependent, because when it comes to how much income you could potentially earn, a lot of that is dependent, just like any other real estate strategy would be depending on the market. It's no different from the short-term rental side. It's definitely heavy market dependent. I'll tell you what we look at in Houston, though, which in Houston could be compared to a lot of different markets as well. You could probably take these numbers out to Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Philly, Austin. Well, Austin's a bit higher, but similar. If we're not making, I mean, this is a low bare minimum for us to even look at it. If we're not netting at least $800 for an arbitrage deal, net after expenses, and this is usually, when it's 800, it's usually like a smaller unit, like a 1-bedroom, maybe a studio. I will still run a play on that if I can make net at least $800 that month. But if you can, I'm saying that as the bare minimum, right? I just think it's funny though, because before I started doing short-term rentals, I was buying these 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses and making them long-term traditional rentals. Right. My average was about $450 a month on that house. Oof. So you can imagine a 1-bedroom apartment netting at least $800.
And it's not even the same square footage.
Not even the same.
Not even half.
Can't even hold that $400 cash, or can't even hold a candle to the $800 cash flow I'm getting from this apartment that I don't even own. You know what I mean? This is the power of short-term rentals. And this is another reason why I just love short-term rental income over traditional rental income as well.
And so any last tips for anyone that is looking into arbitrage right now?
Yeah. When it comes to arbitrage, understand the value that you bring, because that was a mistake that I made in the beginning. I didn't even understand. I was so focused on the business and making money from the business. I was just so focused on getting the lease and just doing whatever I got to do and saying whatever I got to say to get this lease. But when I really understood that, man, I'm the perfect tenant. I'm the prize here. So when I realized that, my conversations with landlords changed drastically. My conversations went from like, oh my God, Mr. Landlord, please let me rent your property out. Trying to do this Airbnb thing. It went from that to, it's in your best interest to work with me. Matter of fact, I feel bad for you if you don't work with me. Like serious, because at the end of the day, I'm the best tenant you ever gonna have. You've been a landlord for how long? How many tenants you ran through? How long have you been looking for that perfect tenant? Well, here I am. I'm the perfect tenant. Nobody is going to take care of this property the way I'm going to take care of this property. Nobody's going to give you your rents on time the way I'm going to give you your rents on time.
And automatically.
And it's automated. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we handle maintenance issues up to $200. Any maintenance issues that you have, no matter what it is, up to $200, we handle at our own expense. We'll just keep you posted on we'll just let you know and keep you posted on the process. But if it's above $200, we'll still oversee it if you wanted us to. And we'll just either bill you for it or take it out the next rent or whatever the case may be, but we'll oversee everything. So value like that. I mean, you know, when I understood that, man, you're the prize, bro. That conversation changed drastically. And I started securing probably 3 times the amount of yeses that I was prior to changing just the mindset in the business.
Exactly. Because you are not begging them for an opportunity.
Exactly.
You are giving them the opportunity of a lifetime.
That's a fact, Jack. I'm not begging them for an opportunity. I'm now giving them the opportunity 100%.
Thank you so much again, TJ. And thank you for teaching us about arbitrage and this amazing way for us to get into short-term rentals. 100%. And thank you to our audience. We're going to see you on the next episode.
Until next time.